education. But without education, a man is nothing, a promise unfulfilled, a potential unrealized. Education may be linked to a large tree with many branches. It compares various categories of instruction and disciplines, each of which, like medicine, engineering, naval and military sciences, policecraft and aviation, which calls for specialized studies, is among the vitally important activities of a nation. The benefits of education may be viewed in two ways. The first, as mentioned in my speech, is in lifting the standards of the nation. Secondly, in the shaping and development of one's character, which might reflect in the direction of both good and evil. It should be your will and desire to eschew evil and always pursue good. It is for this reason that we have never failed to stress to our people the need and value of education. The truly educated man is endowed with a sense of obligation to society. The potentialities of education are unlimited. The acquisition of knowledge and skills calls for patient learning and hard work. But without education, a man is nothing, a promise unfulfilled, a potential unrealized. In the hands of those whose minds are not guided by a basic concern for humanity, however, education can become a dangerous and secretive weapon. Man's education never stops, and in a profession as complex and difficult as yours, you must strive ceaselessly to put into practice your theoretical knowledge and to keep yourselves abreast of new technical developments. Place your faith and trust in Almighty God, for without His assistance and guidance, man is but a weak and puny creature. We have long recognized that raising the general level of education in Ethiopia required the opening of many institutions of higher learning, and that we should not attain our objectives unless this was accomplished and large numbers of our people received extensive education. We believe that education is the hope which shall assure the progress of our people, and it is our wish to assure the spread of education among all African people as much as our own subjects. Students are the leaders of the future and are not bounded by the past. We urge you to work hard and study in recognition of the responsibilities that have been imposed on you as the pioneers of the coming generations. Let it be known that Ethiopia holds priority on the use of this natural wealth of hers. Time has demonstrated that those Africans who believed that the existence of an independent Ethiopia would open the door to freedom for all Africa were not mistaken in their beliefs. The family of independent nations in Africa is today growing apace, and no power on earth can now arrest this process. It would be an irredeemable error, deserving of condemnation of both history and our nation, were we to fail to seize upon this movement towards the achievement of independence and equality for all men, and to carry it successfully to its conclusion. He who would efface the sacred work of the Almighty God, he who would abuse the mysteries of God's creation and discriminate between man and man, whom God created equal based on color, race, or creed, calls down upon himself disaster and ruin. Let no one forget that Africans differ from no other people in the world. They love those that love them, dislike those by whom they are disliked, and are jealous guardians of their freedom. Second is our unswerving devotion to the principles of collective security. In those early days of 1935 to 1936, when our country was subjected to the horrors of aggression, we appeared before the League of Nations to plead the cause of collective security, a plea that unfortunately fell on deaf ears. But even today, no better principles can be devised for the maintenance of peace in the world, and the peace-loving nations of the world have begun to come together under this banner. As we have stated time and time again, we are firmly persuaded that the path to guaranteeing peace in the world lies in supporting the principles of collective security and the United Nations Charter, combined with a progressive reduction of the armaments which are being built up throughout the world. The billions of dollars which are now wasted on this fruitless effort could with great benefits be diverted into the constructive channels of aid for the economic growth of underdeveloped countries. It is our realization that education is the tested instrument by which a people reaches its civilized goal that has led us to bring you to this country, to participate in the provisions which exist for this purpose. A good educational background will enable one to help himself and his people. The uneducated, on the other hand, spends his life under the perpetual guardianship of others, just like children in their earlier years. The cultured are able to make their own decisions, thus avoiding domination by others. And there is nothing on earth more precious than individual freedom and community independence. The value of unity can be best assessed by those who are enlightened. For such persons, it is not easy to destroy their oneness because their minds are matured by education. What guarantees the greatness of a state? The unity of its people. Division into races, tribes, and sects does not detract from such unity. As you advance in your education, you will come to know the benefits to be derived from our beliefs, but you will play a useful part both for yourselves and your fellow men. With this idea in mind, we admonish you to study with all of your might. Unless you strictly follow this principle, you may fail to fulfill the promise made in the oath that you have just taken. May God help you keep this pledge unbroken. Political independence, however, is but one part of the complex of problems that faces the African people in their struggles to achieve their rightful place in the world. It is a paradox that while Africa is potentially the richest of the continents, large numbers of her people still lead an existence that can only be regarded as substandard. A major cause for this lag in Africa's economic development has been the lack of education of her peoples. Let us not be too proud to face these facts and to recognize Africa's deficiencies and defects. Let us face honestly and frankly the fact that by the standard of the modern world, the African people today are poor. Our poverty need not cover us with shame. The average wage of the African worker compares unfavorably with other areas of the world. The average African may, if fate smiles upon him, receive the minimum amount of nourishment necessary for physical survival, but rarely more. In addition, the lack of capital essential to the development of their economies and the shortage of technically qualified personnel has severely limited Africa's capacity for economic growth. Our poverty need not cover us with shame. Education and Ethiopia's future. In the education of her youths and training in the modern knowledge of the younger generation lies the hope of Ethiopia and the key to her future. The achievements which you today realize are praiseworthy, and you merit and have our congratulations. But do not let your accomplishments blind you to their truest value. Do not, in contemplating the past, overlook the limitations which still hamper you. Do not let possession of this diploma beguile you into the belief of being superior, that the mark of education sets you apart from your less fortunate fellowmen, that you have outgrown and can dispense with the traditions and customs of your country. There is still much to learn. Knowledge is inexhaustible. Much arduous and discouraging toil lies ahead of you. Cultivate the mental attitude of humility and perseverance, which will see you through the period of toil and labor which awaits you. Because of our firm belief in the education of our people as a unifying force, as a means towards better living conditions and moral standards, and as a means of training competent individuals, education should be practical. Knowledge which cannot be pursued for practical purpose is like a flower which bears no fruit. We realize, therefore, that it would still be of great advantage if, at this stage, our educational planning could be more directed towards technical training. We shall not desist from doing all possible and necessary towards reaching this goal. We are happy that the Third International Conference of Ethiopian Studies should be meeting in our capital, where the Institute of Ethiopian Studies has now been operating for 3 years as an integral part of our university. We hope to see the Institute expand and make a substantial contribution to the growth of scholarships in our beloved land. Learning never ceases until you die. Ethiopia and education. The abundant resources of our country, its virgin lands, its mighty rivers, its minerals, and its fertile soil guarantee our nation a better and more prosperous life. These natural riches and the prospect of exploring them should be the major driving forces in your endeavors. Aside from this national wealth, each one of you is endowed with human energy and intelligence, which you should employ for the achievement of these goals. It is a natural obligation for mankind to live by the sweat of his brow. Labor and nourishment are equally essential for humanity's well-being. So, use this available capital in the most profitable manner. Study your projects, discuss them with specialists, and have the perseverance to see them accomplished. If, on the other hand, the capitals remain unused, if laziness and indifference is diverted to selfish and personal gains, do not forget that you will have incurred upon yourself and upon your country a debt of the heaviest kind. There is no rose without thorns, there is no profit without labor. But the leadership and initiatives must always come from you. Do not expect them to do for you more than you can do for yourself. Every laborer is a father. His labor is his child. Choose your projects carefully and achieve them worthily. We would like again to emphasize the value of time and urge you to dedicate yourself to challenging work and profitably utilize your time. There is no energy in the world, including that of an atom, that cannot be controlled. However, there is no scientist on Earth who could control, even for a second, the flow of time. For this reason, never idle away your time, however briefly. Since Ethiopia has been blessed with the heavenly grace of being a fully independent nation, and only the lack of adequate education has hindered her from profiting from the circumstances and advantages of this blessing, we have personally devoted most of our efforts towards the development and expansion of education in our country, giving it priority over all our other duties. We have been prompted to refer briefly to the history of civilizations, because it is our constant endeavor that all Ethiopians, in their attempt to satisfy their material needs, to invigorate their energy to eradicate idleness and generate an unceasing desire for better and more things, shall elevate their standard of living to that of the people inhabiting other parts of the world and to be able to share with others. He who labors not, neither let him eat. The teaching profession is a noble one, and we can all learn much and profit from the examples set by their devoted and unselfish efforts.